Okay, guys, how you doing? Welcome to Milestone 5. All right, so far, what we have under our belt is we've got our symbol created from from Milestone 2. We've got our word mark created from Milestone 3, and we've got our monogram created from Milestone 4. So we're intimately familiar with the mission and the encoded meaning that we are striving for to represent our client. Okay, so where do we go from here? Milestone 5 is we're going to kind of put this all together into a package that we can use to assist us in consistently designing a collateral identity pieces for the client. What do I mean by that? I mean a style guide. Let's jump over to Milestone 5, and I want to jump over to, well, you've got your learning activities and your task overviews, but I want to jump over to Milestone 5, Task 1, because I want to show you guys something. Okay, we've got a style guide analysis. So basically, what is a style guide? A style guide is it's a guide for designers and for anyone who might be using the graphics you have created for your client. In other words, your client may use different designers down the line, and these designers will need a guide in order to guide them into the proper usage, the proper colors, the proper placement, typeface choices, etc., to represent the client. So what you do is you create a style guide, and this shows all of the regulations and the rules governing the proper use and the placement of the logo, the corporate symbol, the corporate colors, and the fonts used. Okay, so we have here our task 1 style guide analysis, and right here we have basically this is what a style guide is. Rules governing the proper use and placement of the logo or corporate symbol, the palette of corporate colors, the description of fonts in the production of the marketing pieces, and a brief description and the look. Now, I'm going to show you an example of what this is. But first of all, I want to jump down here and I want to show you this, how to complete Milestone 5, Task 1. Must read. This is a must read. Okay, so going through this. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to finalize the logo that you'll be using for your client. Now, keep in mind, this is going to be the logo that you create for your client. In other words, you should take the best of the 3 things that you have already created, the logo, the symbol, the word mark, and the monogram, and figure out a way to identify your client the best way possible. So in other words, what you want to do is you want to say, okay, I want to use my word mark with my symbol. So I want to use my word mark with my monogram. Okay, so I've got this beautiful monogram. I'm going to put this here, and then right next to it, I'm going to put my word mark so the client is properly identified. And what you'll be doing is you'll kind of finalizing your logo. And I think it's important to do that now. And this will make sense in a second. But basically what you're going to do, you're going to finalize your logo that you'll be using for your client. Now, this may entail you might start putting together your work. You might say, okay, I'm going to use my symbol with my word mark. And then you kind of are going to notice that, wait, these don't really go together. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to adjust my word mark a little bit. That's fine. All I'm saying is we need a finalized logo. Okay. Now, keep in mind, a lot of this class is the learning process that you're showing. So in other words, I'm not specifically after this killer logo. I'm after you understanding the process of creating the logo, adjusting the logo, and using that logo in your style guide. So in other words, this is more about process than it is about design, so to speak. All right, so again, I'm saying, so pick your logo, choose your logo, finalize your logo. And again, it could possibly be your word mark along with your symbol. It could be your monogram along with your word mark. Of course, it wouldn't be your monogram with your symbol. That doesn't make sense, right? Because you'll need to identify a client by name, all right? Hope that makes sense. So anyways, you'll complete your symbol, your word mark, and I kind of paraphrase that right here. Okay, then you're going to finalize your color choices. Exactly what colors am I going to use in my logo? So once you finalize your logo, you're saying, okay, I'm going to use this color blue, this color red, and then you're going to show those using swatches. And I'll show examples in a second. You'll show those using swatches, giving the CMYK and the RGB color values as well. Okay, then you're going to finalize your type choices. So in other words, you're going to say, okay, in this particular client, the typeface I'm going to use for my logo is this. the typeface I'm going to use, or the typeface I'm going to use for my word mark. Just identify all the typefaces that you're going to use. And I'm going to show you a little bit more further on that too, to identify the typefaces you're going to use in, let's say, your body copy and your collateral material, etc. Okay, I'll show you examples in a second. Then you're going to create a style guide in Microsoft that describes and illustrates the following. Now, it says, please review the stages of research process in the N5 learning activities, strengthening symbols. Strengthening a symbol's effect for examples on how to complete. So let's go over there to that, and that's M5 learning activity. So let's jump over to M5 learning activity. We'll find that specific learning activity. Here it is. Let's open that up. And right here, we come down here and just follow this, and here are some great examples of how to do this. So you have, here's your letterhead. So as again, I was saying, rules governing proper use and placement of the logo, of the typeface, etc. for your business card, a number 10 envelope, and your letterhead. Okay, here's some examples, but specifically, here's exactly how to do this. Okay, so in this particular case, here would be your logo. You would say, okay, my logo is 1/2 inch from the top, 1 inch from the side. Okay, logo should be 1.375 inches high. The logo should be placed 1 inch from the left and 1/2 inch from the top here, as we see this. And then you can talk about where you're going to place. If you have another design element down here, or if you have some kind of watermark or something, and then you can even define the live area where the body copy goes in that letterhead. Okay, the address line begins. Here's an example of the address line. The body copy, the text of the letter begins. Okay, so and then we have the same thing over here. If you click over here, you have your corporate business cards, and you have the same thing. Everything is listed. So this is this far from the top, this far from the side. The address line is right here, this far from the top. The logo should be X amount from the side, X amount from the top. The logo should be no bigger than, give a size. And again, here's exactly how to do that. Okay, now this one goes into a corporate fact sheet, but we're not going to be using a corporate fact sheet. We're going to go straight to an envelope. And I'll show you an example of that as well. Okay, so that is basically what you would do here. Now let me continue on to say you'll show your swatches and your CMYK and RGB values, describe the fonts used, okay, and a brief description of the look, and additional guidelines as deemed necessary. Okay, now I've given you this attachment right here, and I want to open that attachment so you can see what's going on here. Okay, so here's the attachment. This is Gallery Espresso. Okay, and so this would be your company, your client. Okay, now let's go through here. Here's the table of contents. Okay, and here's brand essence. Here's your introduction or your mission statement. That would be this right here, a brief description of the look and the style guide seeks to create. Okay, now here's your corporate colors. Remember, we have finalize your color choices. 1 or 2 colors is preferable. Okay, and then in your corporate colors, show swatches of your required colors using CMYK and RGB equivalents. Now here's my swatches. There's 1 color, there's 2 color. Here's the RGB numbers for the red and the brown, and here's the CMY colors for the red and the brown. Here's a little description of the color usage, and here is a little guideline. Okay, then let's move on to next. We have typography. Okay, so again, we have over here, we have a brief description of the, where was that? Recorded typefaces you used. Now you can also carry this on to the typefaces you plan on using in your collateral pieces. Like for example, if you have a brochure that the company is going to use, you've got body copy. Here's the, let me zoom in that a little bit. So here's your body copy, and here's your typeface, Verdana Regular 8/11. Show the example, show the typeface. Okay, then here's Verdana Regular in an italic 8/11. Show that. Then bold, and then bold italic. Okay, then next page we have headlines. Okay, so these are the type size and the point size that's required for the headlines. And then we go into print and screen. Now you don't have to do that. You don't have to get that involved. You just have to show the typefaces that you plan on using in your envelope, your business card, and your letterhead. Okay, and then we have, all right, now here's our logo usage. And again, we have finalize the logo you will be using. Then down here we have create your style guide, description of the fonts, the palette of corporate colors, and rules governing the proper use and placement of your logo. So over here we've got, here's our logo identity, here's the description of it. Okay, here's how you're allowed to use it. Okay, this is how wide, and the smallest it can be is 1 1/4 or 1 3/4 of an inch. Okay, here's the different colors that you're allowed to use. Over here is the reverse. So in other words, it's white on one of these 3 backgrounds, one of the 2 colors, or black. And you're showing how big these have to be. You know, what the clear distance is. In other words, nothing can be placed around this logo without adhering to this clear distance. I'll show you that, a further example of that in a second. Then here's a little example of how to use the typeface over an image, and that's optional, but this is clear distance. Okay, so what we do is we say, okay, nothing can be placed close to the logo. How close? We take the G and we make that G all the way around, and that's the closest anything that can come to our logo. It's called a clear zone. Okay, and over here we have different iterations of the logo. Reverse, just using the logo mark itself. So those of you who created a symbol, this would be synonymous to the symbol. You can show how to use it alone if you want. And then, of course, we have how not to use the logo. And this is different examples of how you are not allowed to represent the logo. Now, we go into this, the letterhead, right, the business card, and then we have examples of the letterhead. So here's the example of the letterhead, exactly how is it, here's the description and how is it able to be used. The logo placement has to be right here. We have these rules placed here. Okay, then we do the same thing for the envelope, showing exactly how it's required to be used, and then the business card. Okay, now, and then this presentation ends with, as we said over here, additional guidelines as deemed necessary. And that would be something like this. You show different guidelines of how you can place the logo in different scenarios. And you can take a look at that. Again, that's optional. You don't have to do that, but it's kind of fun. So you can do that if you wish, okay? So that would be basically how to create your style guide. And I hope that makes a lot of sense, guys. I got enough examples here and the video and everything else, I think. And I didn't mean to take 10 minutes, 12 minutes on this video, but I think it's really important to follow these guidelines. Otherwise, we're going to be submitting and resubmitting and resubmitting. So really review this video a couple of times, review these instructions a couple of times, and prior to submission. All right, hope that makes sense, guys. Any questions, comments, concerns, or other, please let me know. Thank you.